The rope cut deep. Erilyn's wrists burned where the coarse fiber dug into her skin, but she refused to flinch. The stone bridge beneath her knees was slick with frost, the kind that promised winter would be cruel this year. Her breath came out in small clouds, visible in the gray morning light. She kept her spine straight even though everything inside her screamed to collapse. Her brothers stood behind her. She could hear them counting coins that hadn't been handed over yet, their voices low and eager. Brannock kept shifting his weight from foot to foot like an anxious dog. Kelvar breathed too loud, the way he always did when he was lying to himself about what kind of man he'd become. Across the bridge stood the reason her life had just ended. The Alpha King of the Ironwood Wolves wore storm-colored armor that looked like it had been forged from shadows and violence. His cloak moved in the wind like something alive. Erilyn had heard stories about him since she was small. King Maelor, the Conqueror, the monster who burned villages and left nothing but ash and silence. But if you enjoyed this opening and want to see how Erilyn survives what comes next, make sure you're following along because the next chapter reveals secrets that will change everything you think you know about her past. She expected him to look at her the way men looked at livestock at market. Calculating, dismissive, already thinking about what use she'd serve. Instead, when his eyes landed on her, he froze, not like a predator spotting prey, like a man who'd just seen a ghost. His hand, which had been reaching for the coin purse at his belt, stopped mid-motion. His jaw tightened. Something flickered across his face that looked almost like recognition, which made no sense because Erilyn had never seen this man before in her life. She would have remembered someone who looked like walking death and unfulfilled promises. "She's strong," Brannock said, shoving Erilyn forward slightly with his boot. She stumbled but caught herself. "Doesn't complain, does what she's told. You won't have trouble with her." Maelor didn't respond. He was still staring at Erilyn like she'd just spoken a language he'd forgotten he knew. Her wolf stirred. It had been silent for years, beaten down by shame and fear and her brother's constant reminders that she was cursed, broken, wrong. But now it moved inside her chest like something waking from a long sleep, and it whispered one word that made her blood run cold. Mate. Erilyn's breath caught. No, that wasn't possible. The mate bond was a myth her mother used to tell her about before she disappeared. Before everything fell apart. Before her father died and her brothers decided she was the reason their lives had turned to rot. But her wolf didn't lie. And worse? Maelor's expression shifted. His eyes widened just slightly, enough that she knew he'd heard something too, felt something too. "How much?" Maelor's voice was rough, like gravel under boots. Kelvar stepped forward, greedy and stupid. 300 gold pieces, that was the agreement. "You're selling your sister." Maelor said it like a statement, not a question. His gaze never left Erilyn. "She's not really our sister," Brannock muttered. "Not the way that matters." "Explain that." The command in Maelor's voice made both brothers stiffen. Erilyn felt her wolf press against her ribs, restless and angry. It wanted out. It wanted to run or fight or do something other than kneel on this freezing bridge while her own blood traded her away like spoiled meat. "She killed our father," Kelvar said. The lie came easy to him. He'd been telling it for 5 years. "We kept her alive out of mercy, but we can't anymore. She's dangerous." Erilyn opened her mouth to deny it, but Maelor spoke first. "She looks half-starved." His tone had gone quiet. Deadly. "Wolves don't kill when they're dying." Brannock laughed, but it sounded nervous. "She's stronger than she looks. Trust us. You'll want to keep those ropes on her until..." "Until what?" The question hung in the cold air. Kelvar glanced at Brannock. Something passed between them. Something that tasted like fear. "Until she never shifts," Brannock finally said. "Not even accidentally." Maelor's entire body went still. Erilyn's wolf whispered again, louder this time. "Run. Don't trust blood. Remember." "Remember what?" She didn't understand. Her head felt thick, like she was trying to think through fog. Then she saw it. A flash. quick and brutal, a forest burning, trees collapsing into flames, and herself, standing in the center of it, screaming. She gasped. The vision vanished as fast as it came, leaving her dizzy and cold. Mailer took a step forward. His boots echoed on the stone. He moved like violence contained in human shape. But his eyes stayed locked on Erilyn's face, searching for something. "What did you just see?" he asked quietly. Her throat closed. How did he know she'd seen anything? "I said, what did you just see?" "Fire," she whispered. "I saw fire." Mailer's jaw clenched. He looked at her brothers with an expression that could have peeled skin from bone. "You didn't sell her because she was useless." His voice dropped lower. "You sold her because you were afraid of her." Brannick opened his mouth to argue, but Mailer pulled a blade from his belt. Not to threaten, to cut. He crossed the distance between them in 2 strides, knelt in front of Erilyn, and sliced through the ropes binding her wrists. The moment the rope fell away, her skin started to glow, faint, flickering, like embers under ash. Erilyn stared at her own hands in horror. What was happening to her? Mailer caught her wrists gently, steadying her. His touch was warm, too warm. It made her wolf surge forward with a desperate, aching need she didn't understand. Behind them, on the stone tower wall, something burned into existence. A symbol, carved by invisible fire, ancient and sharp and wrong. Mailer saw it, his face drained of color. He pulled Erilyn to her feet, his grip firm but not cruel, and turned to face her brothers with an expression that promised consequences. "You sold your sister to her mate," he said. His voice shook, not with anger, with fear. Brannick and Kelvar went pale. Erilyn's heart hammered against her ribs. Mate. That word again. It didn't make sense. None of this made sense. Mailer's eyes flicked back to the symbol burning on the wall. His hand tightened on Erilyn's wrist. He leaned close, his breath warm against her ear, and whispered 2 words that shattered whatever fragile sense of safety she'd been clinging to. "They found you." Erilyn couldn't stop shaking. Mailer hadn't let go of her wrist. His grip was firm, almost possessive, and his eyes kept darting to the symbol burned into the stone wall. Whatever it meant, it terrified him, and if it terrified a man who looked like he'd never been afraid of anything in his life, she didn't want to know what was coming. Her brothers stood frozen on the bridge, their coin purses still clutched in greedy hands. Brannick's mouth hung open like a caught fish. Kelvar looked between Maelor and Erilyn with something close to panic creeping across his face. "Wait," Kelvar said, his voice cracking. "You already agreed to the price. The deal's done. She's yours now." Mailer turned slowly. The movement was controlled, deliberate, like a blade sliding out of a sheath. "The deal was made under false pretenses." "We told you everything you needed to know," Brannick argued, but his voice wavered. "You told me she killed your father." Mailer's tone was flat, empty, the kind of empty that came before explosions. "You told me she was dangerous. You told me to keep her bound." He paused, and the silence stretched until Erilyn thought her ribs might crack from the pressure of it. "You didn't tell me she was Sentinel-born." The word hit the air like a punch. Erilyn's wolf went wild inside her chest. Sentinel-born. She didn't know what that meant, but her wolf did. It thrashed and howled and clawed at the edges of her control, desperate to break free. "We don't know what you're talking about," Kelvar said quickly. Too quickly. Mailer took a step forward. "You knew exactly what she was. That's why you starved her. That's why you beat the wolf out of her. That's why you made sure she never shifted." His voice dropped to something cold and surgical. "You were terrified of what would happen if she woke up again." Again. That word snagged in Erilyn's mind like a thorn. Again implied she'd woken up before, but she didn't remember anything like that. She didn't remember being powerful or dangerous or anything other than the unwanted sister who scrubbed floors and kept her head down. She doesn't remember, does she? Mailer's gaze slid to Erilyn, and something in his expression softened. Just barely, just enough to make her chest ache. "They made sure you wouldn't." Her wolf whispered, urgent and fragmented. "He knows. He remembers. You don't." What don't I remember? Her voice came out rough, raw. She hated how small she sounded. Mailer opened his mouth to answer, but Kelvar cut him off. If she wakes up again, she'll kill us all. The words tumbled out in a rush, desperate and sharp. She did it once when she was 6 years old, burned half the forest down. Our father barely stopped her before. Liar! The single word from Mailer's mouth made Kelvar's jaw snap shut. She didn't kill your father, Mailer continued, his voice steady and certain. Someone else did, and you know it. Erilyn's world tilted. She stared at her brothers, at the men who'd raised her on a foundation of guilt and shame, and watched the truth crack across their faces. Brannock looked away first. Kelvar's hands trembled. We didn't know what else to do, Brannock muttered. After that night, we couldn't control her. We thought if we kept her weak, kept her quiet, maybe she'd never become what she was meant to be. Mailer finished. He looked at Erilyn again, and this time there was something almost like sorrow in his eyes. They were protecting themselves, not you. The betrayal was a living thing inside her chest. It had teeth. It had claws. It tore through her until she couldn't breathe. Her brothers had lied to her for years, made her believe she was a monster, made her carry the weight of their father's death like a stone around her neck, and all of it had been to keep her small. Her wolf snarled. Don't trust blood. What am I? Erilyn's voice shook, but she forced the words out. What's Sentinel-born? Mailer hesitated. For the first time since he'd arrived, he looked uncertain, vulnerable, like the answer was something he didn't want to give her. Sentinels were the first wolves, he said slowly. Before packs, before kings, they were protectors of the old magic, guardians of something that was buried a long time ago. He paused, his jaw tightening. The council outlawed the bloodline 3 decades ago. Anyone born with sentinel blood was supposed to be killed on sight. Erilyn's stomach dropped. But you weren't, Mailer added quickly. Someone hid you, kept you safe. Until... A sharp crack split the air. Erilyn saw it a second before it happened. The stone beneath Brannock's foot splintering, crumbling. She opened her mouth to shout a warning, but the vision was already real. The bridge buckled. Brannock stumbled backward with a yell, arms flailing, and barely caught himself on the railing. Mailer's eyes snapped to Erilyn. You saw that before it happened. It wasn't a question. She nodded, her heart racing. 3 seconds, maybe less. Vision lag, Mailer muttered, almost to himself. It's starting. What's starting? Before he could answer, her wolf's voice exploded in her mind. Move! Erilyn threw herself sideways on instinct. An arrow sliced through the air where her head had been a heartbeat ago. It buried itself in the stone with a vicious thunk. Mailer moved faster than anything human should be able to. He spun, drew a blade from somewhere she hadn't seen, and hurled it into the trees on the far side of the bridge. A body fell from the branches, hit the ground with a wet final sound. Silence. Erilyn's hands were shaking so hard she could barely feel them. Someone had just tried to kill her. Actually, kill her. Mailer walked to the body, nudged it with his boot, and stared down at the dead assassin with an expression she couldn't read. They're already here, he said quietly. Faster than I thought. Who? Erilyn's voice cracked. Mailer turned back to her, and the fear in his eyes was unmistakable now. Real and raw and terrifying. The people who want you dead before your wolf fully wakes up. Her brothers had gone silent, pale. Kelvar looked like he might be sick. Erilyn's wolf whispered again, softer this time. Almost sad. He didn't kill your father. They made him. The words didn't make sense. She stared at Maelor, at this man who was supposed to be a monster, and felt the ground shift beneath her understanding of the world. What does my wolf mean? She asked. What does it mean they made you? Mailer's face went carefully blank. He didn't answer. But the way his hand trembled when he reached for her told her everything she needed to know. He was hiding something that connected him to her past in ways she didn't understand yet. Mailer pulled her close, his voice low and urgent. We need to move. Now, before more of them come. More of who? He didn't answer, just started walking, pulling her with him toward the far end of the bridge. But before they crossed into the trees, Erilyn glanced back at the stone tower wall. The symbol was still there, burning, watching, and beneath it, carved into the stone in letters she almost missed, were 3 words that made her blood turn to ice. The King's Ruin. Maelor's fortress was nothing like Erilyn expected. She'd imagined something brutal, cold stone and iron bars, and the kind of darkness that swallowed hope. Instead, the halls were wide and lined with murals that glowed faintly in the torchlight. The air smelled like cedar and smoke. It felt almost warm. It made her distrust it more. Maelor hadn't spoken since they'd left the bridge. He'd moved through the forest like a man being chased by something invisible, pulling her along until her legs burned and her lungs ached. They'd passed guards who bowed without question, servants who stepped aside without meeting his eyes. No one looked at her directly either, like they were afraid of what they might see. Now she stood in a room that was too large and too quiet. A fire burned in the hearth, casting shadows that danced across walls covered in painted scenes, wolves running beneath a full moon, forests thick with ancient trees, and in the center of one wall, an image that made her stop breathing. A little girl with silver eyes, standing beside a boy who looked too much like Maelor. "That's impossible," Erilyn whispered. Maelor stood near the window, his back to her. His shoulders were tight, his hands clenched at his sides. "I know." "When was this painted?" He didn't turn around. 12 years ago. Her stomach dropped. 12 years ago she would have been 6. The same age her brothers claimed she'd burned the forest. The same age her father died. "I've never been here before." Her voice shook. "I don't know you." "You did." Maelor's voice was rough, like the words cost him something. "Once, a long time ago." Erilyn's wolf stirred, restless and aching. It pushed against her ribs like it was trying to claw its way out. "He remembers, you don't." "What happened?" she demanded. "What did they do to me?" Maelor finally turned. The firelight caught the angles of his face, making him look younger, breakable. "They took your memories, buried them so deep you'd never find them again." He paused, his jaw working like he was chewing on glass. "It was the only way to keep you safe." "Safe from what?" "From becoming what you are." The answer was nothing. It explained nothing. Erilyn wanted to scream. "I don't understand any of this," she said, her hands curling into fists. "You're saying I knew you when I was a child. You're saying my brothers lied about everything. You're saying I'm something called Sentinel-born, and people want me dead because of it." Her voice rose. "But you won't tell me why. You won't tell me what I am or what I did or what any of this means." Maelor crossed the room in 3 strides. He stopped just in front of her, close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him, close enough that her wolf went quiet, waiting. "There's a prophecy," he said quietly, "about you, about us." Her heart stumbled. What kind of prophecy? The kind that says the king's mate dies by those closest to her. The words hit like a fist to the chest. Erilyn stepped back, shaking her head. "I'm not your mate." "Your wolf knows you are." His eyes burned into hers. "Mine knows too." "No." She couldn't accept this, wouldn't. "That's not, I can't." Her wolf's voice rose, urgent and insistent. "He remembers, you don't. Trust him." But trusting him felt like stepping off a cliff, and she'd been shoved off enough cliffs by the people who were supposed to love her. "I've dreamed about you my entire life," Maelor said, and the confession sounded like it was being torn out of him. Every night, the same dream, you standing in a burning forest, you screaming my name, you dying while I watch. His voice cracked. "And I'm always too late." Erilyn's breath caught. "That's just a dream." "It's a warning." He reached for her, then stopped himself. His hand hovered in the air between them, shaking. "Every time I use my full power to protect you, it takes something from me. Burns a mark into my skin, shortens my life." He pulled back his sleeve, revealing a series of glowing scars that wrapped around his forearm like chains. "I've been protecting you since the day we met, and I'll keep doing it until there's nothing left of me." She stared at the scars, at the proof of sacrifice she didn't ask for. "Why?" The word came out broken. "Because you're mine." Simple, final, absolute. "And I'd rather die protecting you than live knowing I let you fall." Her wolf keened, a sound of longing and grief tangled together. Erilyn wanted to argue, wanted to run, but her body moved on its own, drawn forward by something older than logic. She reached out and touched one of the scars on his arm. The moment her skin made contact, pain exploded through her. Not hers. His. She gasped, yanking her hand back. "What?" "The bond is starting to form," Mailer said through gritted teeth. "The more time we spend together, the stronger it gets. Eventually, we'll feel each other's pain, share each other's thoughts, our wolves will merge." "I don't want that." Fear spiked through her. "I don't want to be tied to anyone. Neither do I." His honesty was brutal. "But fate doesn't care what we want." Her wolf whispered, softer now, "Remember." And suddenly, she saw it, a flash, quick and vivid, herself as a child running through a forest, a boy chasing after her, laughing, the same boy from the mural, the same eyes. "Mailer," she breathed. He went still. "You remember." But the memory slipped away before she could hold on to it, leaving only the ghost of warmth, of safety, of something that felt like home. Her chest ached. "They made me forget you," she whispered. "Yes." "Why?" "Because they knew that if you remembered me, your wolf would wake up." Mailer's voice was steady, but his eyes were full of something that looked like grief. "And once your wolf woke up, nothing could stop what you were meant to become." Erilyn's vision blurred. 3 seconds ahead, she saw herself reaching for Mailer, saw his arms come around her, saw the way his expression broke into something desperate and relieved. Then the present caught up. She reached for him without thinking. His arms wrapped around her immediately, pulling her close. He was warm and solid and alive, and her wolf finally settled. But the peace lasted only a heartbeat, because her vision shifted again. She saw the mural on the wall, but this time it wasn't the same image. This time it showed her standing in a throne room, covered in blood, screaming, and Mailer lying at her feet, not moving. She jerked back, her heart hammering. "What does the prophecy say exactly?" Mailer's face had gone pale. "What did you see? Tell me what the prophecy says." He hesitated, then quietly, "The king's mate will be his salvation or his ruin. She will either save him or destroy him. There is no middle ground." Erilyn's hands were shaking. "Which one am I?" "I don't know yet." His voice was barely a whisper. "Neither do you." Her wolf growled, agitated and afraid. "Run! Don't trust yourself." She looked at Maelor, at this man who'd been protecting her before she even knew he existed, and felt the weight of destiny crushing down on her. "What if I'm the ruin?" she asked. He smiled, sad and broken and impossibly gentle. "Then I'll die knowing I loved you anyway." Before she could respond, movement caught her eye. She turned toward the mural, toward the painted image of herself as a child, and froze. Because the image had changed. The little girl in the painting was no longer standing beside the boy. She was standing over him, and her hands were covered in blood. Erilyn's breath stopped. Mailer followed her gaze, saw what she saw. His face drained of all color. "That wasn't there before," he said hoarsely. "Mailer." Her voice cracked. "What's happening to me?" He didn't answer. Couldn't. Because behind the mural, something began to glow, faint at first, then brighter. Another symbol, the same one from the bridge, and beneath it, new words burned into existence. She wakes. He falls. The symbol burned brighter. Erilyn couldn't look away from the words glowing on the wall. She wakes. He falls. The letters pulsed like a heartbeat, like something alive and hungry. Mailer grabbed her arm and pulled her back from the mural. His grip was tight enough to bruise. "Don't touch it." What is it? Her voice came out thin, stretched. A warning. He stared at the symbol with the kind of focus that came before violence. Or a promise. I can't tell anymore. Her wolf was clawing at her insides now, desperate and wild. It wanted out. Wanted to run or fight or burn everything down until the fear stopped. Erilyn pressed a hand to her chest, trying to breathe through the panic. You need to tell me everything, she said. Right now, no more half-truths, no more protection. I deserve to know what I am. Mailer's jaw worked. He looked like a man trying to decide between honesty and mercy, and finding neither option acceptable. You're not just Sentinel-born, he finally said. You're the last one. The only living bloodline carrier left in existence. The words landed like stones in water, heavy, final. What does that mean? It means your wolf isn't a wolf. Mailer turned to face her fully, and the exhaustion in his eyes was devastating. Sentinels were shapeshifters, protectors of the old magic. They could take any form, see through time, manipulate reality itself. He paused. The council outlawed them because they were the only beings powerful enough to challenge their authority. Erilyn's hands shook. You're saying I can do all that? If your wolf fully wakes, yes. His voice dropped. That's why they took your memories, why they buried your power, why your brothers kept you weak. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming in the firelight. Because once you remember who you are, nothing on this earth can stop you. Her wolf howled in agreement. Yes, yes, wake up. But the council doesn't want me dead, Erilyn said slowly, pieces clicking into place. They want me alive. Mailer's expression went dark. They want to use you. Your bloodline can break or bind alpha power. If they control you, they can dethrone me. Rewrite the entire pack hierarchy, turn you into a weapon that destroys everything I've built. The horror of it sank into her bones. She wasn't just a person. She was a key, a tool, something to be wielded by whoever grabbed her first. They're not going to get me, she said, and the conviction in her voice surprised even her. Mailer looked at her like she'd just said something miraculous. No, they're not. He moved past her, walking deeper into the room. Erilyn followed, her bare feet silent on the cold stone. The murals stretched along every wall, dozens of them, each one more disturbing than the last. A forest burning, a throne room soaked in blood, a woman standing over a fallen king, and in every single one, the woman had silver eyes. You painted these, Erilyn whispered. I didn't have a choice. Mailer stopped in front of a mural showing a little girl running through trees. The visions started when I was 8 years old. I'd dream of you every night. Different ages, different moments, always you. His hand lifted, fingers hovering over the painted image without touching it. I painted them to prove I wasn't losing my mind. Erilyn moved closer, studying the details. The girl in the painting looked maybe 5 or 6. Her hair was tangled with leaves. Her eyes were bright with something that looked like joy. I don't remember this, she said. You wouldn't. Mailer's voice was rough. This was before they took your memories, before your father died, before everything fell apart. Her chest ached. She wanted to remember, wanted to know what it felt like to be that girl who ran through forests without fear. But her wolf whispered urgently, Look closer. Erilyn leaned in. Behind the girl in the painting, barely visible in the shadows, was another figure. A boy with dark hair and eyes that looked too old for his face. That's you, she breathed. Mailer nodded. We met once, a long time ago. You don't remember, but I do. What happened? You saved my life. The confession sounded like it hurt. I was being hunted by council assassins. You found me bleeding in the forest. You were 6 years old and you healed me with power you didn't even understand yet. He turned to look at her, and his eyes were full of something that looked like worship. You put your hands on my chest and told me I wasn't allowed to die. And I didn't. Erilyn's throat closed. Why don't I remember any of this? Because 2 days later, the council found you. They burned a seal into your skin to lock your power away. Your father fought them, died protecting you, and your brothers watched it happen. His voice went cold. They stood there and did nothing while the council destroyed you. Rage flooded through her, hot and vicious. Her brothers had watched her be tortured, watched their father die, and then spent the next 12 years making her believe she was the monster. Her wolf snarled, "They will pay." "Show me the rest," Erilyn said. Mailer hesitated. "You don't want to see. Show me." He led her down the hall, past mural after mural. Each one showed a different version of her future. Standing in a throne room, fighting beside Mailer, kneeling in chains, burning alive. And then they reached the end of the hall, a single mural covered by a white cloth. Mailer stopped in front of it, his entire body tense. "I painted this one 3 nights ago. I haven't looked at it since." Erilyn's vision flickered. 3 seconds ahead, she saw herself pulling the cloth away, saw the image underneath, saw Mailer's face go white with horror. Then the present caught up. She reached for the cloth with shaking hands and pulled. The image underneath stole the air from her lungs. It showed her standing over Mailer's body. Her hands were covered in blood, his eyes were open but empty, and behind her, the council stood watching with expressions of victory. But it was the date written at the bottom that made her heart stop. Tomorrow. Erilyn stumbled backward. "No. I don't know if it's prophecy or possibility," Mailer said quietly, "but I've never painted anything that didn't come true in some form." She couldn't stop staring at the image, at the blood on her hands, at the way Mailer's body lay broken and still. "I won't let this happen," she whispered. "You might not have a choice." She spun to face him, fury rising. "Don't say that. Don't you dare say that. The prophecy says you're either my salvation or my ruin." His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed him. They were full of fear. "What if you can't control which one you become?" her wolf roared. "We choose, always." "I choose salvation," Erilyn said fiercely. "I choose you." Mailer's expression cracked. He crossed the distance between them and cupped her face in his hands. "I've been choosing you since I was 8 years old. Every day, every breath, even knowing it might kill me." His thumb traced the line of her jaw, gentle and reverent. Erilyn leaned into the touch, into the warmth, into the impossible truth that this man had been protecting her since before she knew she needed protecting. "We'll find another way," she said. "We'll change the prophecy." "Prophecies don't change." But he said it without conviction, like he was trying to convince himself more than her. Her vision flickered again. 3 seconds ahead, she saw movement in the shadows behind Mailer, saw a blade catching firelight, saw danger. "Move!" She shoved him sideways just as something sharp whistled through the air where his head had been. A dagger embedded itself in the wall with a vicious crack. Mailer spun, a weapon appearing in his hand like magic. He scanned the shadows, every muscle coiled for violence. But nothing moved. Erilyn's heart hammered. "Someone's in here." "Not anymore." Mailer pulled the dagger from the wall, studying it. His face went pale. "This is council forged. They're already inside the fortress." Her wolf's voice rose to a scream. "Run, hide, fight." But before Erilyn could move, her reflection in a nearby mirror caught her eye and froze her in place, because for half a second her reflection wasn't her. It was something ancient. Something with eyes that glowed like molten gold and a form that shifted between human and wolf and something else entirely. Something that made Mailer's prophecies look like children's stories. She blinked. The reflection returned to normal, but Mailer had seen it too. His weapon clattered to the floor. "That's not possible," he breathed. "You haven't even shifted yet." "What was that?" Erilyn's voice shook. "Your true form." He stared at her like she'd just rewritten reality. The form the council fears most. And somewhere deep in the fortress, a horn sounded. Long, low, terrible, Mailer's face went white. "They're here." The horn echoed through stone. Erlen's wolf went silent, not calm, not peaceful, the kind of silent that came before earthquakes. Mailer grabbed her hand and pulled her away from the murals, away from the painted prophecies, and toward a door she hadn't noticed before. His movements were sharp, controlled, but she could feel the panic vibrating off him. "How many?" she asked. "Enough." He shoved the door open, revealing a narrow staircase that curved down into darkness. "We need to get you out of here before they breach the inner walls." "I'm not running." He stopped, turned, looked at her like she'd just suggested they set themselves on fire. "They will kill you," he said slowly, carefully, like she might not understand the words. "Or worse, they'll take you alive and turn you into exactly what the prophecy warns against. Then we fight." "You don't know how to fight." "My wolf does." The words came out with absolute certainty. Her wolf pressed against her consciousness, ready and eager and deadly. "Let it out." "Let me help you." Mailer's expression twisted with something that looked like agony. "If you shift now, before you're ready, it could destroy you. Your mind might not survive the merge. And if I don't shift, they'll destroy both of us." The truth of it hung between them. He knew she was right. She could see it in the way his jaw clenched, in the way his hands trembled just slightly. "I can't lose you," he said quietly. "Not again." "Again?" The words snagged. "What do you mean again?" But before he could answer, the door behind them exploded inward. Wood and stone scattered across the floor. Erlen threw her arms up to shield her face from the debris. When she lowered them, 5 figures stood in the doorway, council guards, dressed in black armor with the same symbol from the bridge carved into their chest plates. And behind them, 2 more figures stepped through, her brothers. Brannock and Kelvar looked different now, harder, like they'd finally committed to being the kind of men who sold their sister and didn't lose sleep over it. "Hello, little sister," Brannock said. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Told you she'd survive the trip, didn't we?" "We aim to please," Kelvar added. Behind them, a woman emerged from the shadows. She was tall, severe, dressed in robes that whispered when she moved. Her eyes were cold and calculating, the kind that measured people like meat. "Erlen," the woman said. Her voice was smooth, cultured. "What a pleasure to finally meet you properly. I am Elder Zenobia, head of the Council of Old Blood." Erlen's wolf snarled. "Enemy, threat, kill." "You're not taking her," Mailer said. He'd positioned himself between Erlen and the council guards, his entire body radiating lethal intent. Zenobia smiled. "We're not here to take her, Alpha King. We're here to collect what already belongs to us." "She belongs to no one." "She belongs to destiny." Zenovia's gaze slid to Erlen, assessing. "Your brothers told us you don't remember your true nature. How convenient for everyone involved." She tilted her head. "Do you know why your father died, child?" Erlen's chest tightened. "He died protecting me. He died trying to stop us from activating your bloodline." Zenobia took a step forward. The guards moved with her, a synchronized threat. "He knew what you were, what you could become, and he tried to keep you locked away like some shameful secret. He was protecting her from you," Mailer said through gritted teeth. "He was protecting himself." Zenovia's smile sharpened, because he knew that once Erlen's wolf woke, she would see the truth, that he wasn't her real father at all. The words hit like a physical blow. Erlen's vision blurred. "What?" "Your mother was council-born," Zenobia continued, her voice almost kind now. "Almost. She escaped with you when you were an infant, found a man willing to raise you as his own. And for 12 years, he played the part perfectly." She paused. "Until we found you again." Mailer's hand found Erlen's, squeezing tight. An anchor. "You're lying," Erlen said, but her voice wavered. "Your wolf knows I'm not." Zenobia gestured to the guards. "Search her memories if you must. The seal we placed on her when she was 6 is weakening. She'll remember soon enough." Her wolf whispered, urgent and afraid. "Remember, Look deeper. See. And suddenly, Erilyn's vision fractured. She saw herself as a child, small hands pressed against stone while figures in masks surrounded her. She saw fire, heard screaming, felt something burning into her skin, hot and agonizing. But through the pain, she saw faces, her brothers standing in the corner, watching, not helping, and behind them, the man she'd called father, the man who'd died protecting her. Except in this memory, he wasn't trying to save her. He was holding her down while the council worked. The memory shattered. Erilyn gasped, stumbling. Mailer caught her before she fell. "It's not real," he said fiercely. "She's manipulating you." But her wolf knew different. Truth. Painful truth. "He betrayed me," Erilyn whispered. "He was trying to protect you the only way he knew how," Mailer insisted, "even if his methods were wrong." Zenobia laughed. "How noble! The Alpha King, defending the dead man who helped us cage his precious mate." She looked at Mailer with open amusement. "Did you tell her yet? About what you did 12 years ago?" Mailer went very still. Erilyn's heart dropped. "What is she talking about?" "Tell her," Zenobia urged. "Tell her how you were the one who found her after we sealed her power, how you made her forget you ever existed." "To protect her," Mailer said, but his voice sounded hollow. "To protect yourself." Zenovia's eyes glittered. "Because you knew the prophecy. You knew that if she remembered you, her wolf would wake, and once it woke, the countdown would begin." She turned to Erilyn. "Your mate sealed your memories too. Child, just like we did, just like your brothers, everyone in your life has been lying to keep you small." The betrayal was a living thing with teeth. Erilyn pulled away from Mailer. He reached for her, but she stepped back. "Is it true?" Her voice cracked. "Did you make me forget?" His silence was answer enough. Her wolf roared. Not at Zenobia, not at her brothers, at everyone, at the entire world that had conspired to keep her locked in a cage she didn't even know existed. Power surged through her veins, hot and wild and uncontrollable. The air around her began to shimmer. Objects in the room started to vibrate. "Erilyn," Mailer said carefully, "look at me. Focus on my voice." But she couldn't. The memories were flooding back now, all at once. Years of buried truth crashing through the walls her mind had built. She remembered meeting Mailer as a child, remembered healing him, remembered the way he'd looked at her like she was something precious, and she remembered him pressing his hand to her forehead, his eyes full of tears, whispering, "Forget, please forget, for both our sakes." "You took my choice," she said. "I gave you a chance at a normal life. You gave me a lie." The room exploded with light. Erilyn felt her wolf surge forward, merging with her consciousness. Her eyes burned gold, her skin began to glow, and for the first time in 12 years, she felt whole. Zenobia stepped back, but she was smiling. "There she is. The sentinel wakes." The guards moved forward, weapons raised. Mailer moved faster. He put himself between Erilyn and the threat, his own power rising to meet hers. "You'll have to go through me first," he said. Zenobia laughed. "Oh, we're counting on it." And then Erilyn saw it, 3 seconds ahead, Mailer lunging for Zenobia, a blade appearing from nowhere, Mailer falling, blood spreading across stone, the prophecy coming true. "No!" Erilyn screamed. She threw her hand out, and reality bent. The blade froze in midair. The guard stopped moving. Even Mailer paused, his eyes wide with shock. Erilyn had stopped time, or slowed it, or something. Her wolf's voice was clear now, fully awake, fully merged. "We choose our path, no one else." She looked at the frozen blade meant for Mailer's heart, looked at Zenovia's triumphant expression, looked at her brothers' faces twisted with greed and jealousy, and she made a choice. Time snapped back, but instead of Mailer moving forward, Erilyn did. She stepped between him and the blade, her hand catching it in midair. The metal bit into her palm, but she didn't feel pain. She felt power. The guards stumbled backward, fear finally cracking through their training. Zenovia's smile faltered. Impossible. You shouldn't be able to control it yet. I'm done letting other people tell me what I can and can't do. Erilyn's voice didn't sound like hers anymore. It sounded ancient, layered, like multiple voices speaking at once. She released the blade, it clattered to the floor, and behind her, Mailer whispered, "What have you done?" She turned to look at him, saw the mark on his chest glowing bright and hot, burning through his shirt, saw the way he pressed a hand to it, his face twisted in pain. "I saved you," she said. "You triggered the bond," he gasped. "Fully." "Too fast!" The room began to shake. Cracks appeared in the stone walls. The murals started to blur and shift, their painted prophecies rearranging themselves into new futures. Zenovia's expression shifted from triumph to alarm. "Restrain her! Now!" But the guards couldn't move. None of them could, because Erilyn's power had filled the room like water, pressing down on everyone except Maelor. She looked at her brothers, at the men who'd sold her, betrayed her, made her believe she was cursed. "You should have let me burn the forest down," she said quietly. And then the fortress shook again, but this time it wasn't her power. It was something outside, something bigger. A roar split the air, ancient and terrible and hungry. Zenovia's face went white. "No, it's too soon." "What is that?" Erilyn demanded. Maelor grabbed her hand, his grip desperate. The thing the council buried beneath this fortress 3 decades ago. His eyes met hers. The thing they needed your bloodline to wake up. Her wolf whispered one word. "Mother." And the floor beneath them shattered. Darkness swallowed everything. Erilyn fell through empty air, Maelor's hand ripped from hers by gravity and chaos. She heard screaming, felt stone crumbling around her. Her wolf surged forward, trying to shift, trying to save them both. Then she hit something solid and stopped falling. Not ground. Something warm. Breathing. Her vision adjusted to the darkness, and what she saw made her blood turn to ice. A massive creature lay coiled in the cavern beneath the fortress. Its body was scaled and shifting, caught somewhere between wolf and serpent, and something that had no name. Its eyes opened, and they glowed the same silver as Erilyn's. "Hello, daughter," the creature said. Its voice was everywhere. Inside Erilyn's head, echoing off the walls, vibrating through her bones. She scrambled backward, her heart hammering. "What are you?" "What you'll become if you don't choose carefully." The creature's massive head lowered, and Erilyn saw her own face reflected in its silver eyes. "I was Sentinel-born too. The first, the strongest, until the council convinced me to use my power to reshape the world." Its laugh was bitter. "I thought I was saving everyone. Instead, I became this." Above them, shouting echoed. Guards. Zenovia's voice calling orders. And Maelor, screaming Erilyn's name. "You're not my mother," Erilyn said. But her voice shook. "I carried you, gave birth to you, loved you enough to let them hide you away." The creature's eyes dimmed. "I became a monster so you wouldn't have to. But the council lied. They said if I sacrificed myself you'd be spared. Instead, they've been hunting you your entire life." Erilyn's chest ached. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're standing at the same crossroads I did." The creature shifted and Erilyn saw scars covering its body. Burn marks. Wounds that never healed. "You can use your power to destroy the council. Free every wolf from their control. Rewrite the hierarchy like Maelor's prophecies promise. And it will cost you everything. Your humanity. Your connection to Maelor. Your soul." The creature's voice dropped to a whisper. "You'll become what I am. Powerful beyond measure. And completely alone." Her wolf whimpered. "No, we choose him. We choose love." "There's another option," the creature continued. "You can seal your power, walk away. Live as a normal wolf with your mate. The council will hunt you forever, but at least you'll have each other." "Until they kill us both," Erilyn said. "Yes." She thought of the mural, of herself standing over Maelor's body, of the prophecy that said she was either his salvation or his ruin. "There has to be a third path," she said desperately. "There's always a third path." The creature's eyes brightened. "But it requires sacrifice, real sacrifice, the kind that changes you forever." Above them, the sounds of fighting grew louder. Mailer was coming for her. She could feel him through the bond now, could sense his fear and rage and desperate love. "Tell me," Erilyn said. "Give half your power to him, merge your wolves completely, become one being in two bodies." The creature's voice was urgent now. "You'll be weaker separately, but together you'll be strong enough to face the council without losing yourselves. What's the cost? You'll feel every pain he feels, every wound, every death." The creature's gaze was heavy with old grief. "And if one of you dies, the other follows within heartbeats. You'll never be apart again. Never free, never just yourself." Erilyn's vision flickered. She saw 3 possible futures branching out like paths through a forest. In one, she stood alone on a throne of bones, powerful and empty. In another, she ran with Mailer through endless forests, always hunted, always afraid. In the third, she and Mailer stood back to back, fighting together, their power merged and blazing like a star. But in that third vision, she also saw them falling together, dying together, their blood mixing on stone. "How much time do I have?" she asked. "None." The creature looked up as the ceiling began to crack. "The council is coming, your brothers are with them, and they have a weapon forged specifically to kill Sentinel-born." Erilyn's wolf howled. "Choose. Now. Choose us." Light flooded the cavern as the ceiling collapsed. Mailer dropped through the opening, landing in a crouch beside her. His eyes found hers immediately, and the relief on his face was devastating. "Are you hurt?" He grabbed her shoulders, checking for injuries. "I'm fine." She looked past him. Zenobia stood at the edge of the hole, flanked by a dozen guards. And behind them, Brannick and Kelvar held a spear that glowed with sickly light. "That weapon," the creature warned. "It will kill your wolf and leave you human, powerless, mortal." Mailer saw it too. His entire body went rigid. "We need to run. We can't run forever. Then we fight." He moved to stand between her and the threat, but Erilyn caught his arm. "Wait." She looked at him, at this man who'd been protecting her since he was 8 years old, who'd painted prophecies trying to save her, who'd been slowly dying every time he used his power to keep her safe. "There's another way," she told him, fast and desperate and honest, about the creature that was her mother, about the 3 paths, about the choice that would bind them together forever or destroy them both. Mailer listened without interrupting. When she finished, his expression was unreadable. "You're asking me if I'm willing to die with you," he said slowly. "I'm asking if you're willing to live with me." She gripped his hand. "Really live, not just survive." Above them, Zenobia shouted orders. The guards began lowering ropes. Mailer looked at their joined hands, at the scars on his arm that proved how long he'd been protecting her, at the bond mark on his chest that was killing him slowly. Then he smiled, sad and beautiful and absolutely certain. "I've been yours since I was 8 years old." He pulled her close. "If we're going to rewrite prophecy, we do it together." Erilyn felt tears sting her eyes. "This will change everything." "Good." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm tired of the old everything." Her wolf reached for his, found it waiting, and they merged. The pain was immediate and excruciating. Erilyn felt Mailer's consciousness slam into hers, felt every wound he'd ever carried, every fear, every moment of loneliness. And he felt hers, the years of starvation and shame, the betrayal, the buried rage. But underneath the pain was something else. Love, pure and absolute and unbreakable. Their wolves tangled together until there was no separation. Their power merged and multiplied. And when Erilyn opened her eyes, they glowed gold and silver both. Mailer's did too. Zenovia's face went pale. "What have you done?" Erilyn and Mailer spoke in unison, their voices layered and ancient. We chose. The creature that was Erilyn's mother laughed. There's your third path. The guards rushed forward. Brannick and Kelvar raised the glowing spear, but Erilyn and Maelor moved as one being. They didn't need to speak or plan. They knew each other's thoughts, each other's movements. Erilyn threw her hand forward, and reality fractured. The guards froze mid-step. Maelor's power surged, and the frozen guards shattered like glass. Not killed, transformed, changed into something harmless and small. Zenobia stumbled backward. Impossible. You're too young to have that kind of control. We're not one person anymore, Erilyn said. We're two souls with one purpose. They moved toward the brothers. Brannick tried to throw the spear, but Erilyn saw it 3 seconds before it happened. She caught it mid-flight, and the weapon crumbled to ash in her hands. Kelvar fell to his knees. Please, we didn't know what they'd do to you. We were scared. You were jealous, Maelor said. His voice was cold, final. You couldn't stand that she was stronger than you, so you tried to break her. What do we do with them? Erilyn asked. She felt Maelor's rage mixing with hers, felt his desire for revenge, but she also felt something else, his mercy, his understanding that broken people make broken choices. We let them live, they said together, but they don't get to forget. Erilyn touched each brother's forehead, forced them to see every memory, every moment of her suffering, every lie they'd told, every time they'd chosen greed over family. When she pulled back, both men were sobbing. That's your punishment, she said. Living with what you did. Zenobia tried to run, but the creature that was Erilyn's mother moved faster. Its massive body blocked the exit. You promised me freedom if I sacrificed myself, the creature said. You lied. We needed your power contained, Zenobia spat. You were too dangerous to let live freely. Then you understand why we can't let you live at all. The creature's eyes met Erilyn's. She's yours, daughter. Do what I couldn't. Erilyn and Maelor approached Zenobia together. The woman's confidence finally cracked. If you kill me, the entire council will hunt you, she said desperately. You'll never know peace. We'll never know peace anyway, Erilyn replied, but at least this way we'll know justice. They didn't kill her. Instead, they did something worse. They stripped her of her power, took every ounce of magic she'd hoarded and scattered it to the wind, left her human, mortal, powerless. Live knowing what you lost, Maelor said, just like you made everyone else live. Zenobia collapsed, screaming. The creature that was Erilyn's mother began to fade, its body dissolving into light. You found the third path? It whispered. I'm proud of you. Wait, Erilyn called. Don't go. We can save you. We can— I'm already saved, the creature smiled. I got to see you choose love over power. That's enough. And then it was gone. Erilyn and Maelor stood in the ruins of the cavern, their powers still merged, their hearts beating in sync. What now? Erilyn asked. Maelor pulled her close. Now we rewrite every prophecy they ever made about us. She laughed. It felt like freedom. But her vision flickered one last time. 3 seconds ahead, she saw a figure emerging from the shadows. Someone they'd forgotten about. Someone who'd been watching this entire time. Someone with a blade aimed at their merged hearts. Erilyn spun, pushing Maelor aside. The blade struck. Pain exploded through both of them. The merged bond amplified it, making it impossible to tell whose body was actually wounded. They fell together, blood spreading between them. Above them, a woman stepped into the light. Not Zenobia, someone else. Someone whose face Erilyn recognized from the murals, from the prophecies. The woman smiled. The king's mate is his salvation or his ruin, she said quietly. Congratulations, you just chose both. And as darkness closed in, Erilyn realized the prophecy had never been about killing Maelor or saving him. It had been about this moment, where they fell together, where they rose together, where they became something new. The future shattered into 3 paths, and Erilyn had stepped into the one no one saw coming. If you want to find out whether they survive, whether the prophecy can be rewritten, and what happens when two souls become one, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter of their story. Drop a comment below with your views about what happens next, and share this story with someone who needs to believe that love and power can exist in the same heart. Your support inspires us to keep bringing you stories that challenge destiny itself. What do you think Erilyn and Mailer will become? Let us know in the comments, and remember that sometimes the greatest power is choosing who you fall with.